Mafia queen found dying female cop in the alley. What happened next? Shocked. The PD. Hey my loves, hit subscribe and tap that little bell. It's free, it's quick, and it means you'll never miss a single heartbeat of our next romance. And don't forget, drop your city or country in the comments. I love seeing where our beautiful community is listening from. Now, back to the story. I wasn't supposed to be in that alley. The rain hammered down on the cracked pavement of Lower Manhattan, turning every shadow into a potential threat. My heels clicked against the wet concrete as I cut through the narrow passage between two buildings, a shortcut I'd taken 1,000 times before. The kind of shortcut that keeps you off the main streets where cameras watch every move and cops patrol with their hands too close to their holsters. But tonight, something was different. The metallic smell hit me first. Blood. Fresh blood mixed with rainwater, creating rivers of diluted crimson that snaked toward the storm drain. I stopped, my hand instinctively moving to the gun tucked against my ribs beneath my leather jacket. That's when I saw her. She was slumped against the brick wall, her police uniform soaked through, the badge on her chest reflecting the dim streetlight from the alley's entrance. Her blonde hair was matted with blood and rain, plastered to her face. One hand pressed weakly against her side, where dark blood pulsed between her fingers. A cop, a dying cop, in my territory. Every instinct screamed at me to walk away, to disappear into the night like I'd never been there. The Valentino family didn't help cops. We avoided them, paid them off when necessary, eliminated them when they became problems. But we never, ever saved them. Her eyes opened, blue, the color of a winter sky, and found mine. She tried to speak, but only a wet cough came out, speckling her lips with blood. "Please," she managed, her voice barely a whisper against the rain. "Don't leave me. I should have walked away. Every rule I'd lived by for the past 15 years demanded it. But those eyes, there was something in them that made me freeze. Not fear. Cops were trained to swallow that down. It was something else. Recognition, maybe. Or resignation. I looked up and down the alley. Empty. The rain was working in my favor, keeping people indoors, washing away evidence. I made a decision that would change everything. "You're not dying tonight," I said, moving toward her. "But you're going to wish you had." I knelt beside her, my expensive jeans soaking through immediately. Up close, I could see the damage. Gunshot wound to the left side. Probably missed the vital organs by inches. She was lucky. If you could call being left to bleed out in an alley lucky. "Who did this?" I asked, already pulling off my jacket to press against the wound. She grimaced as I applied pressure. "Didn't see his face. 3 of them. They knew I was a cop. Targeted hit," I muttered. "That complicated things. What's your name?" "Sarah. Detective Sarah Chen." She tried to laugh, but it came out as a groan. "You're Victoria Valentino. I've seen your file." Of course she had. Every cop in the city knew my face, even if they couldn't prove a damn thing. I was the daughter of Marco Valentino, the man who ran half of New York's underground. And 6 months ago, when a rival family put a bullet in his head, I became something else entirely. I became the queen. "Then you know what I am," I said, pulling out my phone with my free hand. "And you know saving you is the stupidest thing I could possibly do. So, why are you doing it?" Good question. One I didn't have an answer to. I dialed a number I'd memorized years ago. It rang twice before a gruff voice answered. "Doc, I need you at the warehouse. Now. And bring your kit." "How bad?" "Gunshot. She's lost a lot of blood." There was a pause. "She? Just get there." I ended the call and looked back at Sarah. Her face was pale, lips turning blue. Shock was setting in. I needed to move her, but doing so might kill her faster than leaving her here. "Listen to me," I said, leaning close enough that she could hear me over the rain. "I'm going to pick you up. It's going to hurt like hell. You're going to want to scream. Don't. We're in Dmitry Volkov territory. You scream, we both die. Understand?" She nodded weakly. "Good girl." I positioned myself, sliding one arm under her knees and the other around her back. She whimpered as I lifted her, her hand clutching at my shirt. She was lighter than I expected, but still solid. Muscle beneath the uniform. An athlete. That might be the only reason she was still breathing. My car was parked at the far end of the alley, a black Mercedes with tinted windows that cost more than most people made in a year. I moved quickly but carefully, keeping her as stable as possible. Every second counted. "Stay with me," I ordered as I reached the car. "You don't have permission to die, bossy," she mumbled, her head lolling against my shoulder. "You have no idea." I managed to get the back door open and laid her across the leather seats. The blood was already seeping into the upholstery. My accountant was going to have questions. The warehouse was only 10 minutes away in Red Hook, a distance that felt like hours as I pushed through the rain-slicked streets. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, checking her chest to make sure it was still rising and falling. Why are you doing this?" Sarah asked again, her voice stronger now. Adrenaline, probably. The body's last desperate attempt to stay alive. "I don't know," I admitted, and that was the truth. Maybe I'm tired of death. Maybe I saw an opportunity. Maybe I'm just having a really bad night. Join the club. Despite everything, I almost smiled. The warehouse loomed ahead, its metal exterior rusted and unwelcoming. To anyone passing by, it looked abandoned. That was the point. Inside was a different story. State-of-the-art security, weapons cache, and a medical setup that would make some hospitals jealous. When you live the life I did, you learn to prepare for emergencies. I pulled into the loading bay and killed the engine. Doc was already there, his medical bag in hand, gray hair wild from the wind. He'd been patching up Valentino family members since before I was born. He took one look at Sarah and his expression darkened. "That's a cop, Victoria." I noticed. My father is dead." I cut him off. "And I'm in charge now. Are you going to help her or not?" He held my gaze for a long moment, then sighed. "Get her inside. Quickly." Together, we carried Sarah into the warehouse and laid her on the steel table Doc used for his work. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, she looked even paler, her breathing shallow. Doc immediately went to work, cutting away her uniform, examining the wound. "Bullet went through," he announced. "Missed the kidney, but she's lost a lot of blood. She needs a transfusion." "Do it." "Victoria, I'm a field medic, not a blood bank. I don't have—" "Then use mine." Doc stared at me. "You're O negative?" "Yes." He shook his head but didn't argue further. Within minutes, he had us connected, my blood flowing into her veins. I sat beside the table, watching her face as color slowly returned to her cheeks. "You're insane," Sarah whispered, her eyes opening to meet mine. "Your family. They'll kill you for this. Let them try." And that was the moment I realized I meant it. Something had shifted in me the second I saw her in that alley. Some calculation had been made in a part of my brain I didn't fully understand. She was worth the risk, worth the questions, worth whatever came next. Doc worked for 2 hours, stitching, bandaging, monitoring vitals. By the time he finished, Sarah was stable but unconscious, her body finally allowing itself to rest. "She'll live," Doc said, washing his hands in the industrial sink. "But she's going to have questions when she wakes up. Questions I'm guessing you don't want to answer. I'll handle it. And when the NYPD comes looking for their missing detective, that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight I had a dying cop in my warehouse, and no good explanation for why I'd saved her." I pulled up a chair beside the table and settled in to wait. The rain continued to hammer against the metal roof, a constant rhythm that matched my heartbeat. I studied Sarah's face in the dim light, the sharp angle of her jaw, the small scar above her left eyebrow, the way her eyelashes cast shadows on her cheeks. She was beautiful. Dangerous thought, that one. But true. My phone buzzed. A text from my second-in-command, Marcus. "Where are you? Volkov's people are asking questions about activity in the alley." I typed back, "Handle it." "Boss." I said handle it. I silenced my phone and leaned back in the chair. Tomorrow, the consequences would come. The questions, the accusations, the potential war with my own organization. But tonight, in this moment, with this woman breathing steadily beside me because I'd chosen to save her, tonight, I felt more alive than I had in years. Sarah's hand twitched, and without thinking, I reached out and took it in mine. Her fingers were cold but strong. A cop's hands. Hands that had probably arrested people like me. Hands that might very well put me in handcuffs when this was all over. I didn't let go. "What have I done?" I whispered to the empty warehouse. But somewhere deep down, beneath the logic and the rules and the life I'd been born into, I already knew. I'd chosen her. And in my world, once you made a choice like that, there was no going back. The game had changed, and neither of us would ever be the same. What would you do if you found your sworn enemy dying in an alley? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take on this impossible choice. And if you're as hooked as I think you are, hit that like button. Things are about to get a whole lot more complicated. I must have dozed off somewhere around 4 in the morning, my hand still wrapped around Sarah's, my head tilted back against the chair in a position that was going to make my neck scream later. The warehouse was silent, except for the steady beep of the heart monitor Doc had hooked up before he left. The sound that woke me wasn't the monitor. It was the cold press of metal against my temple. "Don't move," Sarah's voice. Stronger now, clearer. And apparently, she'd found my backup piece. The 9mm I kept strapped under the table for emergencies exactly like this one. I opened my eyes slowly, carefully. She was sitting up on the table, one hand pressed against her bandaged side, the other holding my gun with the kind of steady grip that told me she knew exactly how to use it. "Morning," I said calmly. "How are you feeling?" Like I got shot and woke up in a crime lord's warehouse. Her blue eyes were hard now, all cop. Where am I? Where's my weapon? And why the hell am I still alive? Red Hook. Doc has your service weapon. Cleaned it, actually. It was covered in blood. And you're alive because I decided you should be. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. We stared at each other. The gun didn't waver. Neither did I. I'd been held at gunpoint more times than I could count. This should have felt the same. It didn't. "You saved my life," Sarah said slowly, like she was trying to work out a puzzle. "Victoria Valentino, daughter of Marco Valentino, current head of the Valentino crime family, saved a cop's life. That doesn't make sense. Welcome to my world. Nothing's made sense since last night. Try me." I shifted slightly in the chair, testing her reaction. The gun followed my movement. Trained, professional, even injured and disoriented, she was in control. I was cutting through the alley. You were bleeding out. I made a choice. That's it. No grand plan, no ulterior motive, just a choice. Nobody does something like that without a reason. Maybe I had a reason. Maybe I just didn't like watching someone die. I met her eyes. Or maybe I saw something in you that made me think you were worth saving. Take your pick. The gun lowered slightly. Not much, but enough. My precinct. They'll be looking for me. They think you're dead. That got her attention. What? Marcus? My second? He handled the scene. Made it look like your body was dragged away. Happens in that neighborhood. Bodies disappear. By now, they've probably found enough of your blood to assume the worst. You faked my death. Her voice was flat, dangerous. Do you have any idea what you've done? My partner? My captain? She stopped abruptly, her jaw clenching. My family thinks I'm dead. Your family thinks you died in the line of duty. Hero cop, taken too soon. There are worse ways to be remembered. The gun came back up, pressed harder against my skull. You don't get to make that decision. I already did. Then I can undo it. I walk out of here. I go straight to my precinct. I tell them everything. You kidnapped a police officer, faked her death, probably violated about 20 federal laws, and you'd be dead within an hour. That stopped her. What? I turned my head slowly, ignoring the gun, until I was looking directly at her. You were targeted, Sarah. 3 shooters. They knew you were a cop. They left you to die in an alley in Volkov territory. That's not random. Someone wanted you dead. Someone with reach. You're lying. I don't need to lie. Check your phone. Oh, wait. You can't. It's in an evidence bag at the scene. But I guarantee you, if we pulled your recent cases, we'd find something. Someone you pissed off. Someone with connections. She was quiet for a long moment. I could see the wheels turning behind those blue eyes, running through possibilities, scenarios. Cop brain, always working. Internal affairs, she said finally. So quiet I almost missed it. I've been feeding IA information about dirty cops. 3 of them, taking payoffs from the Volkov family. I was supposed to testify next week, and someone found out. But how? The investigation was sealed. Only myself, my handler, and the DA knew. She stopped again, her face going pale. Oh, God. Your handler? Captain Morris. He's been my supervisor for 5 years. I trusted him. Trust is a commodity in this city, detective, and it sounds like yours was misplaced. The gun finally lowered completely, Sarah's hand shaking now as the reality set in. She'd been betrayed by her own captain, left to die in an alley, and now she was sitting in a warehouse with the head of a crime family, who'd inexplicably saved her life. I need to think, she said, pressing her free hand against her forehead. This is insane. All of this. You're in shock, and probably still losing blood. Lie back down before you pass out and ruin Doc's stitching. Don't tell me what to do. I just saved your life. I think that earns me some authority here. She glared at me, but there was less heat in it now. Slowly, carefully, she lowered herself back onto the table, wincing as the movement pulled at her stitches. I stood, taking the gun from her hand before she could protest. "I'm not your prisoner," she said. "No, you're my guest. Uninvited, bleeding and holding me at gunpoint, but still a guest. Some hospitality. You want hospitality? There's a shower in the back, clean clothes in the locker. You smell like blood and rain, and frankly, it's distracting." For the first time, something that might have been a smile flickered across her face. Distracting? Don't read into it. But we both knew it was too late for that. Something had shifted between us in the hours since I'd found her in that alley. Something neither of us was ready to name. I walked to the small kitchen area in the corner of the warehouse and started making coffee. Behind me, I heard Sarah slowly ease herself off the table, heard her sharp intake of breath as pain lanced through her side. "Need help?" I asked without turning around. "I'm fine." Stubborn. I liked that. The coffee maker gurgled and hissed, filling the warehouse with the rich smell of dark roast. I poured 2 cups, black, and carried them back to where Sarah was now sitting on the edge of the table, her feet dangling like a kid's. "Here." I handed her a cup. She took it, our fingers brushing. The contact sent electricity up my arm. Her eyes met mine, and I saw the same recognition there, the same dangerous awareness. "This is a bad idea," she said quietly. "What is? Whatever this is. You and me. This whole situation. I'm aware. I'm a cop. You're a criminal. Technically, I've never been convicted of anything. Innocent until proven guilty, remember? You know what I mean." I sat down beside her on the table, close enough that our shoulders almost touched. "Yeah, I know what you mean. And you're right. This is the worst idea either of us has ever had. But here we are anyway." She sipped her coffee, wincing slightly. "What happens now?" "Now? You heal. You get your strength back. And then we figure out who tried to kill you and why." "We? You think I saved you just to throw you back to the wolves? I don't do anything halfway, detective. I'm in this now, whether I like it or not. And what do you want in return?" There it was, the question I'd been avoiding. In my world, everything had a price. Every favor demanded repayment. But looking at her now, at the way the morning light filtered through the high windows and caught in her blonde hair, at the determination in her eyes despite the pain she was in, I didn't have an answer. "I don't know," I admitted. "Maybe I'll figure that out along the way. That's not how you people operate." "You people?" I raised an eyebrow. "Careful, detective. Your prejudice is showing." She had the grace to look embarrassed. "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did. And you're not wrong. Normally I'd want something. Information, protection, leverage. But this—" I gestured between us. "This is different." "How?" "I'm still working that out." My phone buzzed. Marcus again. This time I answered. "Talk. We've got a problem. Volkov's men found the scene before we could clean it completely. They're asking questions, and your uncle wants a meeting." "Which uncle?" "Sal." I closed my eyes. Salvatore Valentino, my father's brother, the man who'd expected to take over when Marco died, the man who'd been furious when I'd claimed the throne instead. Of course he wanted a meeting. "When?" "Tonight. The restaurant. He says it's urgent." "It's always urgent with Sal." "Fine. I'll be there." I ended the call and found Sarah watching me with those cop eyes, reading every micro-expression. "Trouble?" she asked. "Always. But nothing I can't handle. Your uncle doesn't approve of you." "How did you—" "I told you. I've seen your file. The whole family tree. The power struggle after your father died. You weren't supposed to inherit." "No, I wasn't. But here we are. A woman in charge of a crime family. That must have ruffled some feathers." "You have no idea." I stood, finishing my coffee. "But I didn't earn this position by being soft. They learned that the hard way." Sarah studied me for a long moment. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Someone colder, maybe. More ruthless. The files made you sound like a monster. Give it time. You might still think that. Maybe." She set down her cup. "Or maybe I'll see something else. Something that made you stop in that alley when you should have kept walking. Don't make me into a hero, Sarah. I'm not one. I'm not. But you're not the villain they say you are either. Maybe you're something in between. In between doesn't exist in my world. You're either with us or against us. Then what am I?" The question hung in the air between us, heavy with implications. What was she? My prisoner? My responsibility? My mistake? Or something else entirely? Something that made my heart beat faster and my carefully constructed walls start to crack. "You're alive," I said finally. "That's all that matters right now." But we both knew it wasn't that simple. Nothing about this was simple. I'd crossed a line last night, one that couldn't be uncrossed. And looking at Sarah Chen, at the way she met my eyes without flinching, at the strength in her even after everything, I realized I didn't want to uncross it. I was in trouble. The kind of trouble that could get us both killed. And somehow I didn't care. Have you ever made a choice that changed everything? A moment where you crossed a line and couldn't go back? Share your story in the comments. Let's talk about the decisions that define us. And smash that like button if you're ready to see where this dangerous alliance leads. The restaurant was empty when I arrived, which meant Sal had cleared it out. Private conversation. That was never good. I'd left Sarah at the warehouse with strict instructions not to leave, not to call anyone, and not to bleed on anything expensive. She'd given me a look that said she wasn't great at following orders, but she'd agreed, probably because she was still too weak to do much else. Doc had come back to check on her before I left, changing her bandages, giving her antibiotics. He'd pulled me aside on his way out. "She's asking questions," he'd said. "About you, about the family, about what happens next." "What did you tell her?" "Nothing. That's your job." "But Victoria," he'd grabbed my arm, his grip surprisingly strong for a man in his 70s. "Be careful. That woman is trouble. The kind of trouble your father would have eliminated without a second thought." Good thing I'm not my father. That's exactly what worries me. Now, walking into Salvatore's domain, because that's what this restaurant was, his territory, his power base, I thought about Doc's warning. He was right. Sarah was trouble, but I'd never been good at staying away from trouble. Sal was sitting at the corner table, a glass of red wine in front of him, his silver hair slicked back in that old-school way that made him look like he'd stepped out of a Scorsese film. Two of his men flanked him, arms crossed, faces blank. Muscle. Message received. Victoria. He didn't stand. Disrespect. Carefully calculated. "You're late. I'm here. That's what matters." I sat across from him without waiting for an invitation. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Good. We understood each other. "Wine?" He gestured to the bottle. "I don't drink with people who threaten me." "Threaten? Niece, I would never." "Cut the act, Sal. You cleared the restaurant, brought your dogs, and called this meeting at the last minute. You're making a power play. So let's skip the pleasantries and get to the point." He leaned back, a smile playing at his lips. "Your father's daughter, direct. I can respect that. My father's successor. Remember that." "How could I forget?" The smile disappeared. "You've made quite sure everyone remembers. But being Marco's daughter doesn't make you Marco. You don't have his experience, his connections, his penis. Is that what you were going to say?" One of the guards shifted. Sal held up a hand, stopping him. "Careful, Victoria. You may be family, but there are limits." "You want to talk about limits? Let's talk about how you've been meeting with the Volkovs behind my back. How you've been spreading rumors that I'm not fit to lead. How you've been positioning yourself to take over the second I show any weakness." His face remained neutral, but I saw the flicker in his eyes. Surprise. He hadn't expected me to know. "You've been busy," he said carefully. "I have good sources. Better than yours, apparently. The Volkovs are a threat." I was exploring options, without consulting me. "That's called treason, Sal. That's called protecting the family. Something you've been too distracted to do lately." Here it was. The real reason for this meeting. "Distracted," I repeated. "Interesting word choice. You've been disappearing, spending nights at the Red Hook warehouse, avoiding family meetings. Marcus is covering for you, but people are noticing. They're talking. Let them talk. It's not that simple. You're new to this. You don't understand. When the boss shows weakness, it's blood in the water. Every shark in the city starts circling. We need strength right now. Unity, not whatever the hell you're doing." I leaned forward, my voice dropping. "What I'm doing is none of your business. I run this family now. Me, not you, not the capos, not the soldiers who think a woman can't handle this job. Me. And if you don't like it, there's the door. And if I walk out that door, then you're out. Completely. No territory, no cut, no protection. You become just another old man trying to stay relevant in a young man's game." Sal's knuckles went white around his wine glass. For a moment, I thought he might throw it at me. Instead, he took a slow drink, his eyes never leaving mine. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly. "Whatever you're involved in, whoever you're protecting, It's going to cost you. And when it does, don't come crying to family. I won't need to. Because I'm smarter than you give me credit for. Are you? He set down his glass. Then tell me this. What were you doing in Volkov territory last night? What were you doing in that alley? My blood went cold. He knew. Somehow, he knew. I was taking a shortcut that ended with you carrying something, or someone, to your car. Something you didn't want the Volkovs to see. You're having me followed. I'm protecting family interests. There's a difference. No, there isn't. I stood, my chair scraping against the floor. You want to play games, Sal? Fine. But remember who holds the cards. You make a move against me, and I'll bury you so deep they'll need a map to find your body. Are we clear? He didn't answer. Didn't need to. The message was sent. I walked out of the restaurant, my heart pounding, my mind racing. Sal knew something. Not everything. If he knew about Sarah, he would have led with that. But he knew enough to be dangerous. I needed to move faster than I'd planned. My phone rang as I reached my car. Unknown number. I answered anyway. Ms. Valentino? A woman's voice. Professional. Clipped. This is Assistant District Attorney Rebecca Walsh. I need to speak with you about Detective Sarah Chen. Every muscle in my body tensed. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. Detective Chen was working with my office on a sensitive investigation. She disappeared last night after what appeared to be an attempted murder. Her blood was found in an alley in your territory. I have some questions. Then ask the police. The police think she's dead, but I have reason to believe otherwise. And I have reason to believe you might know where she is. That's a serious accusation. I'm not accusing you of anything. Yet. But I need to know if Sarah is alive. She's the key witness in a corruption case that could bring down half the precinct. If she's out there, if she's safe, I need to know. I was quiet for a long moment, weighing options, calculating risks. Rebecca Walsh was clean, as far as I knew, one of the few ADAs in the city who couldn't be bought, which made her either very principled or very stupid. If I knew anything, I said carefully, hypothetically speaking, what would you do with that information? Keep her alive, protect her, get her testimony on record, and put away the people who tried to kill her. And if those people include cops, people with badges and guns and the entire force backing them up, then we'd need to be very careful, very smart, and we'd need allies we could trust. Trust is in short supply these days, Ms. Walsh. I know, but Sarah trusted me, and if she trusted you enough to stay alive this long, maybe that means something. I closed my eyes, thinking of Sarah back at the warehouse, probably trying to figure out a way to escape despite her injuries, thinking of Sal and his suspicions, thinking of Captain Morris and whoever else wanted Sarah dead. There's a coffee shop on the corner of 5th and Madison, I said. Be there in an hour. Come alone. Bring proof that you're who you say you are, and that this corruption case is real. How will I know you're there? You won't, but I'll know you're there. Don't be late, counselor. I hung up before she could respond. This was getting complicated. More complicated than I'd anticipated when I'd made the split-second decision to save Sarah's life, but I was committed now. And in my world, once you committed to something, you saw it through to the end, whatever that end might be. I drove back to the warehouse, my mind working through scenarios, backup plans, exit strategies. The coffee shop meeting could be a trap. Walsh could be dirty, working with Morris, using Sarah as bait to draw me out. But my gut said otherwise. And in this business, sometimes your gut was all you had. Sarah was awake when I arrived, sitting up on the table looking stronger. She'd showered, her hair was damp, and she was wearing one of the clean shirts I'd left out. It was too big on her, hanging off one shoulder, and I forced myself not to notice how good she looked in it. You're back, she said. Not a question. Did you think I wouldn't be? Honestly, I wasn't sure. Wouldn't be the first time someone abandoned me. There was a story there. Multiple stories, probably. But now wasn't the time. I met with my uncle, I said, pulling up a chair. He knows something. Not everything, but enough to be a problem. How much trouble are you in? Nothing I can't handle. But we need to move faster than I planned. I got a call from the ADA on your corruption case. Rebecca Walsh. Sarah's face went pale. Rebecca called you? How did she? She's smart, connected, and she thinks you're alive. I'm meeting her in an hour. No. Sarah shook her head sharply. No, you can't. If Morris finds out, Morris won't find out. Walsh is coming alone, and she says she wants to help. You trust her? I don't trust anyone, but right now she's our best option. Unless you have a better idea for how to stay alive and take down the people who tried to kill you? Sarah was quiet, her cop brain working through the angles. If we bring Rebecca in, this gets bigger, more complicated. More people who could betray us. It's already complicated, and more people means more protection, for both of us, or more exposure. That's the risk. I met her eyes. But I'm willing to take it if you are. This is your life we're talking about, Sarah. Your choice. She studied me for a long moment, and I could see the war playing out behind her eyes. Trust versus suspicion. Hope versus experience. Everything that made her a good cop, fighting against the situation she'd found herself in. Okay, she said finally, but I'm coming with you. You can barely walk. I'll manage. You're not doing this without me. It's my life, like you said. My choice. Stubborn, brave, stupid. Everything that had probably made her a good cop and was definitely going to get her killed. Fine, I agreed. But you do exactly what I say, when I say it. No heroics, no cop instincts. You're not Detective Chen right now. You're just Sarah. And Sarah stays alive by following my lead. Deal? Deal. I helped her off the table, steadying her when she swayed. She was warm against my side, solid despite her injuries. I told myself it was just practical, just making sure she didn't fall. But my heart knew better. We were in this together now, for better or worse. And something told me it was going to get a lot worse before it got better. Ever had to choose between playing it safe and taking a risk that could change everything? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you're invested in seeing how this alliance unfolds. Because trust me, it's about to get real complicated, real fast. The coffee shop was one of those trendy places that charged $8 for a latte and had more succulence than actual coffee on display. Not my usual scene, but it was public enough to be safe and private enough to have a conversation. I'd positioned Sarah at a corner table with a clear view of the entrance and both exits. She was wearing a baseball cap pulled low and sunglasses despite the overcast weather. Not subtle, but effective enough. If anyone was looking for a dead cop, they wouldn't be looking at the woman calmly sipping an espresso. I watched from across the street, standing in the doorway of a closed boutique. Marcus was parked 2 blocks away with the car running. 2 more of my people were scattered throughout the surrounding area. If this went sideways, we had options. Rebecca Walsh arrived exactly on time, which I appreciated. Punctuality suggested discipline, and discipline suggested she could be trusted. Maybe. She was younger than I expected, mid-30s, with dark hair pulled into a professional bun and a suit that screamed prosecutor. She carried a leather briefcase and walked with the confident stride of someone who knew their worth. I liked her immediately, which was a problem. I didn't like people. It made things complicated. She entered the coffee shop, scanned the room, her eyes passing over Sarah without recognition. Good. The disguise was working. I waited 3 minutes to make sure she was alone, then crossed the street and slipped inside. The barista barely glanced at me. New York. Everyone was too busy with their own drama to care about anyone else's. I sat down next to Sarah, across from the empty chair Walsh was studying. Ms. Walsh, I said, thanks for being punctual. She turned, and for a split second, genuine surprise crossed her face. She'd expected me, but not like this. Not sitting casually in a coffee shop like we were old friends. Ms. Valentino, or do you prefer Victoria? Victoria works, and you can drop the formality. We're all breaking about a dozen laws just by having this conversation. She moved to the empty chair, but didn't sit yet. Her eyes had found Sarah, recognition dawning. Detective Chen, you're alive. Sarah removed her sunglasses. Disappointed? Relieved. Walsh finally sat, setting her briefcase on the floor. When I saw the crime scene, the amount of blood, I thought we'd lost you. I thought we'd lost everything. You almost did, Sarah said quietly. If Victoria hadn't found me, why did you save her? Walsh interrupted, looking at me with those sharp prosecutor eyes. No offense, but your family isn't exactly known for helping law enforcement. None taken. And I'm still figuring that out myself. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. Walsh studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Fair enough. As long as Sarah is safe, your motivations are secondary. What matters now is keeping her alive long enough to testify and taking down the people who tried to kill her. Starting with Captain Morris, Sarah said. We don't know for certain it was him. Yes, we do. Sarah's voice was hard. He was the only one outside your office who knew the details of my investigation. He knew where I'd be, when I'd be there. It was him, Rebecca, or someone he told. Walsh's jaw tightened. If Morris is dirty, and he has the whole precinct protecting him, this is bigger than I thought. We'd need federal involvement, witness protection, the works. Federal involvement means federal timeline, I said. Months of investigation, paperwork, bureaucracy. Sarah doesn't have months. The people who want her dead think she's already buried. The second they find out otherwise, they'll come for her. Hard. So what do you suggest? We move fast. We get the evidence, get Sarah's testimony on record, and we burn Morris before he knows what hit him. That's not how this works. We need to follow procedure, build a case. Procedure is what got Sarah shot in an alley. I cut her off. Procedure is what lets dirty cops like Morris hide behind their badges. You want to follow procedure? You're welcome to. But Sarah stays with me until this is over. She's a witness in a federal investigation. I can't or won't. I leaned forward. Look, Walsh, I get it. You're by the book. That's admirable. But the book doesn't work when the people who wrote it are the ones breaking the rules. Sometimes you need to color outside the lines. Coming from a crime boss that's rich. Crime boss. Survivor. Opportunist. Call me whatever makes you feel better. But I'm the reason Sarah is breathing right now. And I'm the reason she'll keep breathing. Can you say the same? Walsh looked at Sarah. Is this what you want? To stay with her? Sarah hesitated, and I could see the conflict in her eyes. Everything she'd been taught, everything she believed in, said to trust Walsh, to trust the system. But the bullet in her side said otherwise. For now, Sarah said finally, until we know who we can trust. Victoria saved my life. That counts for something. Walsh closed her eyes briefly, and when she opened them, they were resigned. Okay, but I need something from both of you. Cooperation, complete transparency. If we're doing this off-book, we need to be smart about it. What do you need? I asked. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a file. These are the officers Sarah was investigating. 3 cops, all taking payoffs from the Volkov organization. But I think there's more. I think Morris isn't just dirty. I think he's the bridge between the Volkovs and half the precinct. I took the file, scanning the names and photos. 2 patrol officers I didn't recognize. 1 sergeant, Tony Caruso. Him, I knew, had arrested my father twice back in the day, both times on bogus charges that didn't stick. If Caruso was dirty, it would explain a lot. Caruso, I said. He's been on the Volkov payroll for years. My father always suspected but never could prove it. Sarah got proof. Bank records, recorded conversations, the works. Enough to put all 3 of them away and start unraveling the bigger conspiracy. Where's the evidence now? That's the problem. Walsh glanced at Sarah. We had a secure server, encrypted, backed up in 3 locations. But after Sarah disappeared, I checked. Someone accessed the server using my credentials. They deleted everything. Everything. Sarah's face went white. A year of work. I know. I'm sorry. Whoever did this, they knew what they were looking for. They were thorough. Inside job, I muttered. Someone in your office. That's my assessment. Which means I can't trust anyone at the DA's office either. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of it settling over us. Sarah had risked everything, nearly died, and now the evidence she'd collected was gone. Morris and his crew had won. Unless, Sarah, I said slowly, the evidence. You kept backups, right? Separate from the official ones? She met my eyes, understanding dawning. I'm not supposed to, but you did anyway, because you're smart, and you knew this could happen. A small smile tugged at her lips. Flash drive, hidden in my apartment. Can you access it? Walsh asked. Not without being seen. Morris will have people watching the place. He needs to make sure there's nothing incriminating before the department boxes up my stuff. Then we get it before he does, I said. Tonight. Quick in and out. That's breaking and entering, Walsh pointed out. It's her apartment. Can't break into your own place. She's legally dead. The apartment is crime scene adjacent. Any evidence we recovered wouldn't be admissible. I don't care about admissible, I said. I care about having leverage. We get the drive, we have Morris by the balls. Then you can figure out the legal way to use it. Walsh looked like she wanted to argue, but she was smart enough to know I was right. Sometimes you had to bend the rules to get justice. Fine, she agreed. But I'm coming with you. No, you're not. You're the ADA. You need deniability. Sarah and I will handle it. Sarah can barely walk. I can walk fine, Sarah interjected. And Victoria's right. You need to stay clean. We'll get the drive and bring it to you. Walsh didn't look happy, but she nodded. When? Tonight. 2 a.m. Morris's people will be tired, sloppy. That's our window. And if they catch you? I smiled. They won't. We spent the next hour going over details, contingencies, backup plans. Walsh gave us her personal cell number, not her work phone, smart, and made us promise to check in the second we had the drive. By the time we left, the afternoon sun was breaking through the clouds, making the city look almost beautiful. Almost. You really think we can do this? Sarah asked as we walked to where Marcus was waiting. She was leaning on me more now, her energy fading. The painkillers were wearing off. We don't have a choice. That drive is the key to everything. Without it, Morris walks. And if Morris walks, you die. So yeah, we're going to do this. You're very confident for someone who's about to break into a cop's apartment. I've broken into worse places. Besides, I'll have you with me. You know the building, the security, the best way in and out. I know the legal way in and out. Pretty sure that's not what we're doing. Then it's a good thing you've got a criminal to guide you. She laughed, then winced, her hand going to her side. This is insane. All of it. A week ago, I was a cop investigating dirty cops. Now I'm dead, hiding out with a mob boss and planning to break into my own apartment. How did this become my life? Same way it became mine. One choice at a time. One moment that changed everything. We reached the car. Marcus had the door open, his face carefully neutral as he watched Sarah and me together. He'd been with me long enough to know something was happening. Something beyond just saving a cop's life. But he was loyal. He wouldn't say anything. Yet. Boss, he said, as I helped Sarah into the back seat. Sal's been calling. He wants another meeting. He'll have to wait. We've got work to do. He's not going to like that. Sal doesn't like anything I do. That's his problem, not mine. I slid into the back seat next to Sarah, and Marcus pulled away from the curb. The city flowed past the tinted windows, people going about their lives, completely unaware of the chess game being played around them. Dirty cops, mob politics, corruption that ran so deep it infected everything. Sarah's head drooped onto my shoulder, exhaustion finally winning. I should have moved, maintained distance, kept things professional. Instead, I stayed still, letting her rest, feeling her breath warm against my neck. Victoria, she murmured, half asleep. Yeah? Thank you. For all of this. For not giving up on me. Don't thank me yet. We've got a long night ahead of us. But she was already asleep, her hand somehow finding mine, her fingers intertwining with mine, in a way that felt both natural and terrifying. I looked at Marcus in the rearview mirror. He raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. What was I doing? This was beyond risky, beyond stupid. I was falling for a cop, protecting her against my own family's interests, risking everything I'd built for someone I'd known less than 48 hours. But as Sarah slept against me, as the city rushed past, as the weight of what we were about to do settled over me, I realized I didn't care about the risk, didn't care about the consequences. For the first time in years, I felt alive, truly alive. And if that meant burning my whole world down, then maybe it was worth it. Maybe she was worth it. When was the last time you took a risk for someone you barely knew? Sometimes the biggest choices come in the smallest moments. Let me know in the comments what you would do in Victoria's position. And hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens when they break into that apartment. Sarah's apartment building was in Brooklyn. A pre-war walk-up with decent security and neighbors who minded their own business. Perfect for a cop who valued privacy. Less perfect for a break-in. We sat in Marcus's car 2 blocks away, engine running, watching the entrance through binoculars. It was 2:30 in the morning, and the street was quiet, except for a few club-goers stumbling home, and a homeless man setting up camp near a subway grate. There, Sarah said, pointing. 3rd window from the left, 4th floor. That's mine. I studied the building's layout. Fire escape on the east side, accessible from the alley. Security camera at the main entrance. But the angle was wrong. It wouldn't catch anyone using the fire escape. The problem was getting to the fire escape without being seen by Morris's watchers. How many people do you think he has on the building? I asked. At least 2. Maybe more. Morris is paranoid. If he thinks there's even a chance I survived and might come back for something, he'll have every angle covered. Smart. I lowered the binoculars. We need a distraction. I have an idea, Marcus said from the driver's seat, but you're not going to like it. Try me. I call in a tip. Anonymous. Say I saw someone matching one of those dirty cops' descriptions near the Volkov warehouse. Morris's guys will have to check it out. NYPD policy. Any tip involving the Volkovs gets immediate attention. That could work, Sarah said. But it'll only buy us 20 minutes, maybe 30. And if they figure out it's fake, they will. I finished. Eventually. But by then we'll be gone. Do it, Marcus. He pulled out a burner phone, dialed, put on a pretty convincing Brooklyn accent. 2 minutes later it was done. Clock's ticking, he said. Move fast. Be smart. Don't die. The usual. Your confidence is overwhelming, I replied, opening the door. Sarah followed me out, moving better now. The rest and painkillers had helped, but I could see the tightness around her eyes. She was hurting, probably more than she'd admit. We moved quickly through the shadows, staying off the main street. The alley behind Sarah's building smelled like garbage and piss. Classic New York ambiance. The fire escape ladder was pulled up, naturally, but that was what grappling hooks were for. You carry a grappling hook? Sarah whispered, as I pulled it from my jacket. You don't? I'm a cop, not Batman. Rookie mistake. I threw the hook, and it caught on the first try. Years of practice. I'd had to make more than a few quick exits in my life. You go first, I said. I'll cover from down here in case anyone shows up. You mean in case I fall and need catching? That too. She grabbed the rope, testing it. For a second, I thought she might not be able to do it. The wound, the weakness, the pain. But then she was climbing, hand over hand, her cop training kicking in. She was stronger than she looked. I kept watch as she ascended, my hand on the gun tucked into my waistband. The street was quiet, too quiet. My instincts were screaming that something was wrong, but I couldn't pinpoint what. Sarah reached the fire escape and pulled herself onto it with a grunt of pain. She looked down and gave me a thumbs up. My turn. I climbed quickly, years of parkour training making it easy. Sarah was already at her window, working on the lock. Don't you have a key? I whispered. On my keychain, which is in evidence lockup at the precinct. Right. She had the window open in under a minute. We slipped inside, and I closed it behind us. The apartment was dark, silent. I could see the outline of furniture, smell the faint scent of Sarah's perfume still lingering in the air. Something floral, unexpected. Where's the drive? I asked. Kitchen. False bottom in the sugar canister. Original, I know. We moved through the living room, and I couldn't help but take in the details. Photos on the wall, Sarah in her uniform at graduation, Sarah with an older couple who had to be her parents, Sarah with another woman, both of them laughing, pressed close together. A girlfriend? Ex-girlfriend? Not the time to ask. Books on the shelf, crime novels, biographies, a few poetry collections, a yoga mat rolled up in the corner, a life interrupted, frozen in time, waiting for its owner to come home. Except its owner was legally dead. The kitchen was small but tidy. Sarah went straight to the sugar canister, pulled it down, twisted the bottom. It came apart, and she reached inside. Her face went pale. What? I asked. It's gone. The drive. It's gone. You're sure this is the right spot? I'm sure. I put it here myself. Checked it 3 times. Someone's been here. Someone... The apartment lights blazed on. We both spun toward the living room. Standing in the doorway, gun drawn, was a man I recognized from the file Walsh had shown us. Sergeant Tony Caruso. Detective Chen, he said, his voice almost cheerful. I had a feeling you might show up. Morris said you were dead, but I know you. You're too stubborn to die that easy. Sarah's hand moved toward her waistband, but she wasn't armed. I'd left her service weapon at the warehouse for this exact reason. If we got caught, I didn't want her shooting a fellow cop, even a dirty one. Caruso, she said. Where's the drive? Safe. Secure. Where it can't ruin good cops' lives with lies and fabricated evidence. Fabricated? You're on tape taking money from the Volkovs. That's not fabrication. That's you being a criminal with a badge. His gun shifted from Sarah to me. And you must be the infamous Victoria Valentino, the mob princess who decided to play hero. How's that working out for you? Better than your career is about to. That drive is backed up. Multiple locations. Even if you destroy it, the evidence still exists. You're bluffing. If it was backed up, the ADA would have used it already. Damn, he was right. How many of you are there? I asked. How deep does this go? Just you 3, or is the whole precinct dirty? Caruso smiled. Wouldn't you like to know? Actually, yeah, I would. Because when this is over, I want to know exactly who to destroy. Tough talk from someone about to catch a bullet. Here's what's going to happen. You're both going to get down on the ground, hands behind your heads. Then I'm going to call this in. Attempted burglary, cop killer, tragic but necessary use of force. By morning, you'll both be dead, and Morris will be a hero for solving Detective Chen's murder. Cop killer? Sarah's voice was sharp. I never killed anyone. Not yet, but in about 30 seconds, you're going to pull a gun on me, and I'm going to have no choice but to defend myself. Tragic story. Beloved detective, corrupted by mob influence, dies in shootout. The department will eat it up. He was going to do it. I could see it in his eyes. The calculation, the justification. He'd probably killed before. Probably would kill again. One more dirty cop in a city full of them. But he'd made one mistake. He'd taken his eyes off me for a split second to look at Sarah. I moved. Not toward him. That's what he expected. I moved backward, grabbed the sugar canister Sarah had left on the counter, and hurled it at his face. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it didn't need to be. It just needed to buy us a second. The canister hit him square in the nose. He stumbled, gun jerking up. I was already moving, closing the distance between us. My hand came down hard on his wrist, forcing the gun toward the floor. The gun went off. The sound was deafening in the small apartment, the muzzle flash blinding. I felt the bullet pass inches from my leg, felt the heat of it, but I didn't let go. I twisted his wrist, hard, heard something snap. Caruso screamed. The gun clattered to the floor. Sarah was there instantly, kicking it away, her movements pure cop training. She grabbed Caruso's other arm, wrenched it behind his back. I helped her force him to the ground, my knee in his spine. You broke my fucking wrist, he gasped. You were going to kill us, I replied. I'd say we're even. Sarah was breathing hard, her face flushed with adrenaline and pain. We need to get out of here. That gunshot. Someone will have called it in. Not yet. I leaned close to Caruso's ear. The drive. Where is it? Fuck you. I pressed harder on his back. He groaned. Wrong answer. Try again. Victoria? Sarah's voice held a warning. I'm not going to kill him. Just persuade him. Big difference. Morris has it. Caruso spat. Took it himself. Said he'd handle it personally. Where does Morris live? I'm not telling you shit. I looked at Sarah. You know where he lives? She hesitated, then nodded. Westchester. Big house. Gated community. We'll never get in there. Never say never. Sirens in the distance. Getting closer. We need to go, Sarah urged. Now. She was right. I stood, pulling Caruso's handcuffs from his belt and securing his hands behind his back. He'd get free eventually, but it would slow him down. Tell Morris we're coming for him, I said. Tell him his time is up. You're dead, Caruso hissed. Both of you. You just don't know it yet. Everybody dies eventually, but not tonight. We ran for the window, out onto the fire escape, down the ladder as the sirens grew louder. Marcus was waiting right where we'd left him, engine running. We dove into the car, and he peeled out before the doors were even closed. How'd it go? He asked calmly, like we'd just been out for coffee. About as well as expected, I replied. The drive's gone. Morris has it. So what's the plan? I looked at Sarah. Her face was pale, her breathing shallow. The adrenaline was fading and the pain was coming back. She needed rest, medical attention, safety. But more than that, she needed justice. We're going to Westchester, I said. And we're going to have a conversation with Captain Morris. Tonight? Tonight. Before he realizes we're onto him. Victoria, Sarah said quietly. We can't just walk into his house. He'll have security, cameras, probably more guns than we can handle. It's suicide. Maybe, but it's also the last thing he'll expect. He thinks he's won. He thinks we're running scared. We show up at his front door. It'll throw him off balance, or get us killed. That's always a possibility. But I'm tired of playing defense. Time to go on offense. Marcus caught my eye in the rearview mirror. You're sure about this? Was I? No. This was reckless, dangerous, probably the worst plan I'd ever come up with. But sitting back and waiting for Morris to make the next move was just as dangerous. Sometimes you had to control the chaos instead of letting it control you. I'm sure, I said. Sarah took my hand, squeezed it. Then I'm in. Whatever happens, we do this together. Together. When had that become an option? When had I stopped thinking of her as a responsibility and started thinking of her as a partner? Somewhere between the alley and now. Somewhere in the moments when she'd trusted me with her life, and I'd decided she was worth saving, worth protecting, worth everything. Together, I agreed. Marcus drove north, toward Westchester, toward Morris, toward whatever came next. The city lights faded behind us, replaced by the darkness of the highway, the unknown stretching out ahead. I didn't know if we'd survive the night, didn't know if this was courage or stupidity, but as Sarah's hand stayed in mine, as her breathing steadied, as the determination settled over both of us, I knew one thing for certain. We weren't giving up. Not now, not ever. Morris wanted a war. He was about to get one. Ever had a moment where you had to choose between playing it safe and taking the fight to your enemy? What would you do? Run and hide, or go straight for the source? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to like this video if you're ready to see how this showdown goes down. Westchester was a different world from the city. Manicured lawns, houses set back from the street behind gates and walls, the kind of quiet that came with money and privilege. Captain Morris lived in one of the nicest developments, Cedar Crest Estates, where the houses started at $2 million, and the neighbors included CEOs, surgeons, and apparently dirty cops. We parked 3 blocks away, in the lot of a closed shopping center. The clock on the dashboard read 4:15 in the morning, the darkest hour, right before dawn, perfect for what we needed to do. His house is the Colonial at the end of Maple Drive, Sarah said, studying the map on her phone. Gated entrance, security cameras on the driveway and front door. He's got a wife and 2 kids, but they spend most of their time at their place in the Hamptons. Most of their time isn't all of their time, I pointed out. We need to know if they're there. How do we find that out? We ask. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my contacts, found the one I needed. Tony, the Wire Marchetti, best surveillance tech in the city. He owed me a favor. He answered on the 3rd ring, voice thick with sleep. This better be good. I need eyes on a house in Westchester. Cedar Crest Estates, end of Maple Drive. Tell me who's inside. Do you know what time it is? Do you remember who got you out of that federal warrant last year? Silence. Then, give me 10 minutes. I hung up. Sarah was watching me with a mix of curiosity and concern. You have a surveillance guy. I have a lot of guys. Comes with the territory. Must be nice having an army at your disposal. It has its perks. Also, its complications. Like Sal trying to stage a coup every other week. What are you going to do about him? Good question. Sal was a problem that wasn't going away. Eventually, I'd have to deal with him permanently. But that was a concern for tomorrow. Tonight was about Morris. My phone rang. Tony, right on schedule. Thermal imaging shows 1 person in the house, he said. Master bedroom, 2nd floor. Looks like Morris is home alone. You're sure? I'm always sure. That's why you pay me. Cameras are active, but they're on a closed system. Easy to loop. Give me 5 minutes. You're a lifesaver, Tony. I'm a criminal who happens to be good with technology. There's a difference. He hung up. I looked at Sarah and Marcus. We're good. Morris is alone. Cameras will be down in 5 minutes. This is our window. What's the plan? Marcus asked. Sarah and I go in through the back. You stay with the car, engine running. Anyone shows up, cops, private security, Morris's guys, you call us immediately. You want backup? Not this time. Too many people, too much noise. This needs to be quiet, personal. Marcus didn't look happy, but he nodded. He knew better than to argue when my mind was made up. Sarah and I checked our weapons. My personal 9mm for me, a spare gun from Marcus's collection for her. We moved through the quiet streets like ghosts, sticking to shadows, avoiding the few streetlights that were still on. Morris's house was exactly what I'd expected. Big, ostentatious, the kind of place that screamed money, dirty money, earned on the backs of the people he was supposed to protect. It made my skin crawl. The back gate was locked, but it was a standard residential lock. I had it open in under a minute. The yard was expansive, pool, hot tub, perfectly landscaped gardens. Morris had done well for himself, too well for a captain's salary. He's not even trying to hide it, Sarah muttered as we crossed the lawn. My whole apartment could fit in his pool house. Arrogance. He thinks he's untouchable. He might be right. Not if we have anything to say about it. The back door was alarmed, but Tony had disabled it along with the cameras. We slipped inside, entering through the kitchen. Marble countertops, high-end appliances, a wine fridge that probably cost more than my car. The American dream, built on corruption and murder. We moved silently through the house, up the stairs, toward the master bedroom. Every step felt heavy, weighted with purpose. This was it, the confrontation we'd been building toward since that night in the alley. The bedroom door was closed. I pressed my ear against it, listening, heavy breathing. Morris was asleep. Good. People were most vulnerable when they were comfortable, when they thought they were safe. I looked at Sarah. She nodded. Ready. I turned the knob slowly, pushed the door open. The room was dark except for the glow of a clock radio. Morris was in bed, buried under expensive sheets, completely unaware that his world was about to end. I moved to his side of the bed, pressed the gun against his temple. His eyes snapped open immediately, cop instincts kicking in even from sleep. Don't move, I said quietly. Don't scream. Don't even breathe wrong, or this gets messy. His eyes found mine, then shifted to Sarah standing at the foot of the bed. I saw the recognition, the shock, the fear. Chen, he breathed. You're supposed to be dead. Surprise, Sarah said. Her voice was cold, controlled, pure cop. We need to talk, Captain. You can't be here. This is breaking and entering, assault. Save the legal lecture. I cut him off. We're way past that. You ordered a hit on your own detective. You destroyed evidence in a corruption case. You've been taking payoffs from the Volkovs for years. Want me to keep going? I don't know what you're talking about. The flash drive, Sarah said. The one you took from my apartment. The one with all the evidence I collected. Where is it? There is no flash drive. You're delusional. I pressed the gun harder against his temple. Try again. And this time, tell the truth. Because I'm running out of patience, and my trigger finger gets twitchy when I'm annoyed. Morris swallowed hard. Even in the darkness, I could see the sweat on his forehead. You're making a mistake. Both of you. Victoria, your family, and the Volkovs. We have an understanding. You kill me, that understanding goes away. My family doesn't have an understanding with the Volkovs. My father did. I'm not my father. You're going to start a war. There's already a war. You just didn't know you were losing. Sarah moved closer, her gun trained on Morris. Last chance, Captain. The drive. Where is it? And if I tell you, what then? You kill me anyway? That depends on what else you tell us, I said. How deep does this go? Who else is involved? Is it just you three, or are there more? Morris laughed bitterly. You really think it's just 3 cops? You think corruption in the NYPD is that small? Chen, you were a detective. You know better. How many? Sarah demanded. Enough. Enough that even if you take me down, 10 more will take my place. The Volkovs own this city. They own the cops, the judges, the politicians. You can't fight that. You can't win. We'll see about that, I said. The drive. Now. Safe in my office. Downstairs. Combination is my badge number. I looked at Sarah. Check it. I'll keep our friend company. She hesitated, not wanting to leave me alone with Morris. But we needed that drive. It was the only proof we had. The only thing that could bring down Morris and everyone connected to him. Be careful, she said. Always am. She left, her footsteps quiet on the stairs. Morris and I stayed where we were, frozen in a tableau of predator and prey. Except I wasn't entirely sure which of us was which. You're making a mistake, Morris said again. Victoria Valentino, crime boss with a conscience. It's almost funny. Your father would be ashamed. My father was a lot of things, but at least he had a code. You're just a coward with a badge. You swore to protect people, and instead, you became the thing you were supposed to fight. Save the righteousness. You kill people for a living. I never pretended to be anything else. That's the difference between us. I own what I am. You hide behind that badge and pretend you're one of the good guys. And what is Chen to you? A project? A way to feel better about your life choices? Or is it something else? I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was complicated, messy, not something I was ready to admit even to myself. I thought so, Morris said, reading my silence. You have feelings for her. That's rich. The mob queen and the cop. It's like a bad movie. Shut up. What's your end game here, Victoria? Let's say you get the drive. You expose me and the others. Chen testifies, we all go to jail. Then what? She's still a cop. You're still a criminal. You think she's going to ride off into the sunset with you? You think this ends with happily ever after? I said shut up, but his words were burrowing into my brain, finding all the doubts I'd been pushing down. He was right. Even if we survived this, even if we brought down Morris and the corrupt cops, Sarah and I were on opposite sides of a line that couldn't be crossed. Weren't we? Footsteps on the stairs. Sarah appeared in the doorway, holding a flash drive. Got it. Relief flooded through me. Good. Let's... The sound of breaking glass downstairs. Shouting. Multiple voices. NYPD, We have the house surrounded. Morris smiled. Did you really think I didn't have a panic button in my office safe? The second she opened it, it alerted private security and the local precinct. You're trapped. I looked at Sarah. Her face was white. We'd been set up. Window, I said. Now. We ran to the bedroom window. Looked out. 3 police cars in the driveway. More pulling up. Officers taking positions. No way out the front. Backyard, Sarah said. If we move fast, there's nowhere to go. This whole place is surrounded. Morris sat up in bed, completely calm now. It's over. Both of you, put your guns down. Surrender, and maybe Chen lives. Maybe. I ignored him, my mind racing through options. The roof. We could get to the roof, jump to the neighboring house, make our way. No. Too risky. Too slow. They'd have us before we got 10 feet. We were trapped, and I'd walked us right into it. I'm sorry, I said to Sarah. This is my fault. I should have seen this coming. She grabbed my hand. Don't. We're in this together, remember? If we go down fighting. Footsteps pounding up the stairs. Multiple officers, coordinated, professional. They'd breach the room in seconds. I looked at Sarah, really looked at her. Her determination, her courage, the way she stood tall despite the pain and fear. She was everything I wasn't, everything I wished I could be. Sarah, 3 seconds, someone yelled from the hallway. Put down your weapons and come out with your hands up. Whatever happens, Sarah said quietly. Thank you, for saving me, for believing in me, for everything. 2 seconds. I raised my gun, not at the door, at Morris. If we were going down, he was coming with us. But Sarah's hand stopped me. No, we're better than that. 1 second. The door exploded inward, and everything went to hell. Sometimes the hero's journey ends with capture instead of victory. But is this really the end, or just another turn in the maze? Drop a comment with your theory on what happens next. Hit that like button if you're as hooked as I am. Because trust me, this story is far from over. The room filled with cops in less than a second. 5, maybe 6 of them, guns drawn, shouting commands that blurred together into white noise. I dropped my weapon immediately. I wasn't stupid. Shooting at cops was a death sentence, justified or not. Sarah did the same, her gun clattering to the floor. On the ground, now, hands behind your head. We complied. The carpet was soft against my cheek. Expensive, Egyptian cotton or some shit. Morris's house, Morris's rules. We'd lost. Hands grabbed me, wrenched my arms behind my back. Handcuffs bit into my wrists. Someone was reading me my rights, but I wasn't listening. I was watching Sarah, watching them cuff her too, watching the pain flash across her face as they pulled her injured side. Easy, I snapped. She's been shot. She needs medical attention. Shut up. One of the cops, young, eager, probably his first year on the force, pressed his knee into my back. Morris was out of bed now, playing the victim perfectly. Thank God you got here when you did. They broke in, held me at gunpoint, threatened to kill me if I didn't give them something. I've never been so terrified in my life. Liar. But a convincing one. They hauled us to our feet. I caught Sarah's eye. She looked defeated, exhausted, like all the fight had drained out of her. But then she glanced down at her hand, and I followed her gaze. The flash drive. She still had it. Palmed it when they cuffed her. They hadn't searched her yet. Hope. Small, fragile, but real. They marched us down the stairs, through Morris's expensive house, out into the driveway where more cops waited. Dawn was breaking now, pink and gold light spilling across the manicured lawns. Beautiful morning for the end of the world. A black SUV pulled up. Not a police vehicle. Something else. The back door opened, and Rebecca Walsh stepped out. She was in full prosecutor mode. Tailored suit, briefcase, an expression that could cut glass. She walked straight past the cops, straight to the officer who seemed to be in charge. I'm Ada Rebecca Walsh. These 2 are material witnesses in a federal investigation. I need them transferred to my custody immediately. The officer, Sergeant Stripes, gray hair, seen-it-all expression, shook his head. No can do, counselor. They're under arrest for breaking and entering, assault, attempted murder of a suspect in said federal investigation. Captain Morris is being investigated for corruption, racketeering, and conspiracy to commit murder. These witnesses were gathering evidence when they were apprehended. That's not how this works. They can't just break into someone's house. They can, if they have probable cause to believe evidence was being destroyed, which they did. Walsh pulled papers from her briefcase. Federal warrant signed by Judge Martinez 2 hours ago. Captain Morris's house, vehicles, and all personal property are subject to immediate search and seizure. The sergeant took the papers, scanned them. His expression darkened. This is highly irregular. Welcome to my world. Now, are you going to transfer custody? Or do I need to call Judge Martinez and explain why the NYPD is interfering with a federal investigation? Morris had come outside now, flanked by 2 officers. This is insane. Walsh, you can't possibly believe these criminals. Save it for your arraignment, Captain, which, by the way, is scheduled for 9 a.m. this morning. I'd suggest you get a good lawyer. You're going to need one. On what charges? For starters, corruption under color of law, conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, tampering with evidence, and about 15 other charges I'll add as we go. Your 3 associates, Caruso, Davies, and Flores, are being picked up as we speak. It's over, Morris. I watched the color drain from Morris's face, watched the reality sink in. He'd lost. We'd won. But how? Walsh turned to the sergeant. The witnesses? He sighed, signaled to the officers holding us. Release them into ADA Walsh's custody. But this goes on record. I'm filing a complaint about these procedures. File away. But these 2 just helped bring down the biggest corruption scandal in NYPD history. I'd think carefully about which side of history you want to be on. They uncuffed us. I rubbed my wrists, looked at Sarah. She was pale, swaying slightly, but she managed a small smile. Walsh gestured to her SUV. Get in. We need to move before Morris's lawyer shows up and starts complicating things. We didn't need to be told twice. Sarah and I climbed into the back seat, and Walsh got in front with her driver. The SUV pulled away from Morris's house, away from the cops, away from the trap we'd nearly died in. How? I asked. How did you know we'd be there? How did you get a warrant so fast? Walsh turned in her seat. I'm a prosecutor. I don't sleep much, and I know how to work the system. When you didn't check in after the coffee shop, I got worried. I pulled some strings, called in favors, got Judge Martinez out of bed, took some convincing, but between Sarah's original evidence and my testimony about the deleted files, we had enough for a warrant. But we had the flash drive, Sarah said, pulling it from where she'd hidden it. How did you? I didn't need the drive. I needed probable cause. Your investigation. Morris's suspicious behavior. The attempt on your life. It all painted a picture. The judge agreed. And once we had the warrant, I had Martinez sign an order placing you both under federal protection, material witnesses in an ongoing investigation. So we're not under arrest? You're not under anything except my authority, at least until this case goes to trial. Which means, Victoria, you're essentially working for the federal government now. How does that feel? I laughed. Couldn't help it. Like the universe has a twisted sense of humor. Get used to it. Because you're going to be testifying too. About what you saw, what Morris said, all of it. I'm a criminal. My testimony won't be worth anything. Your testimony, combined with Sarah's evidence, the financial records we're about to seize from Morris's house, and the other witnesses coming forward. It's enough. More than enough. Sarah leaned forward. Other witnesses? Caruso broke. 15 minutes into his interrogation, he gave up Morris, the Volkoffs, everyone. Turns out when you're facing 30 years in federal prison, loyalty becomes negotiable. What about the others? The rest of the department? That's going to take time. This is just the beginning. But it's a good beginning. By this afternoon, half the precinct is going to be suspended pending investigation. By next week, we'll have indictments on at least a dozen officers. By next month, Walsh smiled. By next month, the whole city is going to know what you risked your life to expose. Sarah closed her eyes, and I saw tears leak from beneath her lids. Relief, exhaustion, victory, all of it hitting at once. I took her hand without thinking. She squeezed back. Where are you taking us? I asked Walsh. Safe house in Queens, federal protection, 24-hour security. You'll stay there until the trial. Both of you. Both of us? Well, I can't exactly send you back to your warehouse, Victoria. Morris knows where you live. The Volkoffs know where you live. And after today, half your own organization is going to want you dead for working with the feds. She wasn't wrong. I'd crossed every line, broken every rule. Sal would use this. He'd turn the family against me, paint me as a traitor, take everything I'd built. I need to make some calls, I said. Later. Right now, you need to rest. Doctor's coming to the safe house to check Sarah's wound. and give you both a full medical workup. Then we debrief, then you make calls. In that order. I wanted to argue. But she was right. I was exhausted, running on adrenaline and coffee. Sarah was barely conscious beside me. We needed rest. The safe house was exactly what I expected. Nondescript building, heavy security, the kind of place that looked boring specifically so nobody would look twice at it. Walsh's driver pulled into an underground garage, and we took a service elevator up to the 3rd floor. The apartment was clean, functional, institutional. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen stocked with basics. Not home, but safe. "Doctor will be here in an hour," Walsh said. "Try not to bleed on anything expensive." "Oh wait, there's nothing expensive here." "Never mind." She left, and suddenly Sarah and I were alone. Really alone. For the first time since everything started. "We did it," Sarah said softly. "We actually did it. You did it. This was your case, your evidence, your courage. You saved my life, multiple times." I'd say that counts for something. We stood there, looking at each other, the weight of everything settling over us. We'd survived. Against all odds. Against every enemy. We'd survived. "What happens now?" Sarah asked. "Now? We testify. We help Walsh build her case. We put Morris and everyone like him away. And after, the question I'd been avoiding. I don't know," I admitted. "My family. I'm probably done there. Sal will use this to take over. I'll be lucky if they just exile me instead of killing me. And us? What are we?" I stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her blue eyes. "What do you want us to be?" "I'm a cop. Not anymore. You're legally dead, remember? Details. I still believe in the law, in justice, in doing things the right way. And I'm still a criminal who does things the wrong way. Are you, though?" She reached up, touched my face. "Because the woman I've seen these past few days, she's not the villain the files said she'd be. She's complicated, dangerous, but not evil. Maybe you just bring out the best in me. Or maybe you were never as bad as everyone thought." I wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe I could be more than my father's daughter, more than the life I'd been born into. But reality was reality. "Sarah, even if Morris goes down, even if we survive this, I'm still who I am. I still have enemies, still have blood on my hands, still have a life you can't be part of. Then maybe I don't want that life. Maybe I want something different. You'd give up being a cop? I already did. The second I decided to trust you. The second I realized that justice and the law aren't always the same thing." She moved closer, her breath warm on my face. "You asked what I want us to be. I want us to be possible. Maybe that's stupid. Maybe that's naive. But I've died once already. I'm not wasting my second chance playing it safe. I should have pulled away. Should have been smart, logical, protective of both of us. Instead, I kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, like we were both afraid the other might disappear. Then deeper, urgent. 3 days of tension and danger and unspoken feelings crashing together. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "That was," Sarah started, "a terrible idea," I finished, "for about 100 different reasons." "Yeah, want to do it again?" She laughed. "Absolutely." The second kiss was interrupted by a knock at the door. The doctor, right on schedule. We pulled apart reluctantly, and I went to answer while Sarah composed herself. The next few hours were a blur of medical exams, debriefings with Walsh, phone calls to Marcus about securing my assets and preparing for whatever Sal was planning. By the time we were done, it was late afternoon, and I was ready to collapse. Sarah was already asleep in one of the bedrooms, her wound cleaned and rebandaged, painkillers finally letting her rest. I watched her for a moment from the doorway, the way her chest rose and fell, the peaceful expression on her face, the vulnerability she'd never show while awake. I'd protected her, saved her, and somehow, in the process, she'd saved me too. My phone buzzed. "Marcus, boss, we've got a problem. Sal's called a family meeting. Everyone's going to be there. He's making his move." "When?" "Tonight, 8 p.m., the warehouse." "Of course. My warehouse, my territory. He was challenging me on my own ground. I'll be there. Victoria, he's bringing soldiers. A lot of them. This isn't just a meeting. It's a coup." "I know. That's why I have to go." "You're walking into a death trap. Probably. But if I don't show, it's over anyway. At least this way. I control the narrative." I hung up, looked back at Sarah, sleeping peacefully. She'd been through enough. I couldn't drag her into this too. I wrote a note, left it on the kitchen counter where she'd find it. Had to take care of some family business. Back soon. Don't do anything heroic. V. I grabbed my jacket, checked my gun, and headed for the door. This was it. The final confrontation. Either I walked out the head of the Valentino family, or I didn't walk out at all. But whatever happened, I'd made my choice. I chose Sarah. I chose justice. I chose something better than what I'd been. And if that cost me everything, so be it. Some things were worth fighting for. Some people were worth dying for. I just hoped I didn't have to find out which one this was tonight. The end? Or is it? What did you think of this wild ride? Who's the real hero here? Victoria or Sarah? And more importantly, what do you think happens at that family meeting? Share your theories below and hit that subscribe button, because this universe isn't done yet. Sometimes the end is just a new beginning. Thanks for following this journey with me.